Have you ever felt that life puts you through harsh tests, as if every day comes with a new truth that shakes your being and forces you to rethink everything? Imagine waking up one morning to find that your worst fears have come true, and everything you've been running from has become an inevitable reality. Pain surrounds you, loss is certain, and chaos wraps around you from every side. So how will you act? Will you collapse before the harshness of life, or will you stand firm, accepting what you cannot change? This is not just a philosophical question, but a real crossroads. You have two choices: to remain a prisoner of illusions, sinking in denial of reality, or to face the truth in all its harshness and emerge from it stronger than you were. The Stoic philosophers were not just thinkers observing life from their ivory towers. They were warriors, leaders, emperors, and slaves, men and women who went through the harshest trials without allowing them to break them. In this video, I will not sell you the illusion of easy happiness, but I will put in front of you 8 truths that may be shocking and painful at first, but will free you in the end. Get ready, because the journey might not be comfortable, but is necessary. And if you find in this video an idea that made you rethink, or a new perspective that you added to your life, don't forget to support the content with a like and subscribe. Sharing this video might seem like a small thing to you, but it might reach someone who needs these words at this very moment. Let's start the journey. Do not live as a prisoner of others' expectations. How many times have you felt that you are not enough simply because you didn't achieve what others wanted from you? How many times have you looked in the mirror and didn't see yourself, but rather saw a reflection filled with judgments planted in you by family, society, and friends? The problem is not with you, but with the idea itself. The idea that you are living according to standards you didn't set for yourself. Others' expectations, no matter how innocent they may seem, are invisible chains that bind you without you realizing it. They define what you should be, and as soon as you fail to match the image they have created, feelings of inadequacy and failure begin to creep in. But stop for a moment and ask yourself, who am I living for? Who am I trying to please? Have you spent your life running after an image that isn't yours, simply because you fear rejection? Because you believe your value is determined by how pleased they are with you? No one knows you as well as you know yourself. No one sees the world through your eyes. No one shares the same dreams or fears. Yet you try to fit yourself into molds that don't suit you. Like a missing piece forced into a place where it doesn't belong. Epictetus once said, "If you want to be free, do not allow anyone to control you through your desire to please them. Because once you make others' approval your measure, you will live in prison even if you think you are free." Think about it. How many times have you acted in a way that doesn't reflect you just to avoid criticism? How many times have you hidden your true thoughts for fear of being misunderstood? How many times have you made decisions you didn't want just to avoid disappointing someone else? But for how long? How long will you postpone your truth for an ideal image someone else wants? Will you spend your life hesitating, afraid to take a step that might not please them? Or will you decide, here and now, to stop chasing the approval of a world that will never be satisfied with you no matter what you do? Free yourself. Live according to what your heart believes, what makes you sleep in peace, what makes you feel that you are on the right path, even if no one else understands it but you. Pain is an inseparable part of growth. Pain is not your enemy, but it is the most honest teacher in your life. Most people try to avoid it, escape from it, complain about it, but the inescapable truth is that it is an indispensable companion for any real change. You cannot become stronger without facing challenges. You cannot learn without making mistakes, and you cannot mature without going through pain. Look at your body when you lift weights in the gym. At first you feel exhaustion, your muscles tear on a microscopic level, but after a while you become stronger than you were. This pain wasn't an obstacle, but it was the fuel that made you stronger. Life works in the same way. Every tough experience you go through sharpens you, makes your vision deeper, and trains you in patience and endurance. The problem is that most people see pain as a punishment, as a hardship that must be gotten rid of as quickly as possible. But the true Stoic doesn't see it this way. He sees it as a test, as something to be faced, not escaped from. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "What stands in the way becomes the way," meaning the obstacles that seem to try to bring you down are in fact what build you. They are what created the person you are today. Therefore, the next time you feel pain, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I come out of it stronger? Because life will not stop testing you, and pain will not disappear. But the way you look at it is what makes the difference between those who collapse and those who rise stronger than before. Perfection is just an illusion. Have you ever seen something flawless? Have you met someone who has never made a mistake? Has there ever been a day that was perfect in every detail? You know the answer. This never happens. Yet many still chase this mirage as if they are waiting for the moment when they become without mistakes, without flaws, without failure, believing that this moment is the key to a happy life. But the truth is completely different. Happiness doesn't come from perfection, but from the ability to move forward despite imperfections. The true Stoic doesn't strive to be perfect, but strives to be better than they were yesterday, even if that improvement is small. Because the idea of perfection is nothing but a trap that prevents you from acting, keeps you stuck in hesitation, makes you fear making mistakes more than you care about trying. Look around. The people who have achieved real accomplishments in life, were they flawless? Were their journeys free of failure? Of course not. Their stories are full of falls, of unsuccessful attempts, of times when they thought they would never get back up again. But the difference between them and those who stayed in place is that they didn't wait to be 100% ready before starting. They didn't say, I'll start when I'm perfect. They said, I'll start now, and I'll learn and improve along the way. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, said, while we wait to live, life passes by. How many times have you told yourself, I'll start once I master this thing completely, and then months and years passed and you didn't? How many times have you delayed an important step because you didn't feel ready? And the result? Nothing changed, because you were waiting for something that will never come, the feeling of perfection. Life doesn't wait for you to become perfect to begin. Success doesn't wait for you to be flawless to achieve it. The world doesn't care whether you are ready or not. You either move forward despite your flaws, or you stay where you are, regretting a perfection that will never happen. The point is not to be without mistakes, but to accept mistakes as part of the journey, to see them as opportunities for growth, instead of seeing them as evidence that you're not enough. So, if you're waiting for the perfect moment, let me tell you something, it will never come. But the right moment is always here, and it's now. Time cannot be regained, but it can be easily wasted. You only have one thing in this life, something you cannot get back no matter what you do, and you cannot buy it even if you were the richest person in the world. You can lose money and earn it again. You can lose relationships and find others. Even your health can improve after you get sick. But there is one thing. If it goes, it will never return. Time. And yet, the thing we waste the most without thinking is time. We spend hours in hesitation, worrying about what might happen, regretting what has happened, busying ourselves with things that add no value to our lives, as if we have an unlimited balance, as if we've been guaranteed that we will live forever. Seneca once said, we do not have a little time, we waste a lot of it. The problem is not in the shortness of life, but in the way we use it. We waste our days waiting for the right moment, chasing things we don't need, postponing dreams, even postponing life itself. Think for a moment. How many times have you said to yourself, I'll start later? How many times have you delayed an important step with the excuse that you're waiting for the perfect conditions? The problem is that these conditions will never come, and the future you are postponing your life for will arrive faster than you imagine. But will you reach it, having created something worth remembering? Or will you find it just another stop of postponement? Time is not something you feel its value when you have it, but when you lose it. So don't ask, how much time do I have? Instead ask, how do I use it? Because every moment that passes takes with it a part of your life, a part that will never return. The true Stoic does not waste their time in rehashing the past because they cannot change it, and does not drown in fear of the future because it has not yet come. They understand that the only moment they truly have is now, and this moment is all they need. Therefore, they do not waste it in regret or waiting, but invest it in something that makes them stronger, wiser, more accomplished. If you truly understand this, you will no longer say, I have time later. Instead, you will realize that every second that passes takes with it a part of you that will never return. Now, the decision is in your hands. Will you let time slip through your fingers as if it were worthless? Or will you start using it as if it were the most precious thing in existence? Failure is not the end, It is the beginning of the path. Failure, the word that everyone fears, the one that makes some stop before they start and makes others withdraw at the first obstacle. But it is also the word that makes the difference between those who live an ordinary life and those who leave an indelible mark. The problem is not in failure itself, but in the way we see it. Most people consider it a point of ending, proof that they are incapable or not talented, or that luck wasn't on their side. They fall once and think there is no point in trying again. But think for a moment. Is there anyone who achieved something great in this life without going through failure? No. On the contrary, everyone who made history faced failures. They fell, stumbled, made mistakes, but they didn't give up. Thomas Edison, the man who lit the world with the electric bulb, failed more than 1,000 times before reaching the right result. And when they asked him about all those failed attempts, he didn't say it was a loss. He said, "I didn't fail. I found 1,000 ways that don't work." This is the difference between the person who progresses and the person who stays in place. The first sees failure as a step toward success, and the second sees it as a wall that prevents them from moving forward. But why do people fear failure in such a way? Because they have learned to link their self-worth to their results. If they succeed, they feel good, and if they fail, they think they are worthless, as if their entire identity is summed up in one success or failure. The Stoics understood this point clearly, as Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations. Your success or failure does not define who you are, but the way you deal with them is what reflects your truth. Success is not proof that you are invincible, and failure is not proof that you are incapable. Both are just temporary results. When you face failure, you have two choices. Either let it break you, or let it refine you. The ordinary person, when they fail, stops. But the person who understands life sees failure as a teacher and asks themselves, what mistake did I make? What can I learn? How can I come back stronger next time? Every time you fail, you get a lesson that you couldn't have learned any other way. Failure reveals your weaknesses, forces you to rethink, to improve, to evolve. But above all, it proves to you that you are trying. The only person who never fails is the one who never tried in the first place. The one who lived their life afraid to take risks, avoiding every challenge, running away from any situation that might make them feel weak or inadequate. If you fear failure, you are actually fearing growth, because every great success, every real progress, every profound change first goes through failure. Feeling lonely doesn't mean you are truly alone. Loneliness, a heavy word feared by many, from which they run away in any possible way. They spend their time amidst crowds, drowning in superficial conversations, clinging to meaningless relationships, all just to avoid a moment of silence with themselves, as if sitting with oneself is a danger to be avoided at all costs. But let me ask you, are you really alone, or are you afraid to be with yourself? There is a big difference between being alone and feeling lonely. You can be surrounded by friends, in a big family, in a romantic relationship, yet inside you feel empty, as if you're a stranger in your own life. And you can be completely alone with no one around, yet you feel peace and contentment, not needing anyone to confirm that you exist. The difference is not in the number of people around you, but in your relationship with yourself. The person who doesn't know how to be comfortable with themselves will always look for someone else to fill the emptiness within them. And if they find someone, they will become emotionally dependent on them, afraid of losing them, making them the center of their happiness. But what happens when that person leaves? Their life collapses. They feel like they've lost a part of themselves. Why? Because their existence depended on the other, and they were not self-sufficient. But the Stoic does not see loneliness as a punishment, but as an opportunity to refine the mind, to discover what they truly want in this life. They do not seek others as an escape from themselves, but choose those who add to their life, without needing anyone to feel complete. Seneca used to say, "If you feel lonely when you are alone, you are in bad company." Reflect on this statement carefully. How can you be in bad company when you are alone? The answer is simple: if you cannot bear to sit with yourself. The problem is not the absence of others, but your relationship with yourself. People come and go. This is inevitable. No one will stay with you forever. Not family, not friends, not even the closest person to you. Therefore, if you don't learn how to be happy with yourself, you won't find happiness anywhere else. The Stoic does not fear loneliness because they know that their true strength comes from within, not from the outside. They do not wait for others to feel important. They do not need constant noise to feel alive. They can sit with themselves in silence, without anxiety, without needing to prove anything to anyone. Now, ask yourself honestly, can you be alone without feeling discomfort? Can you spend a whole day without needing to fill the emptiness with distractions? If your answer is no, then it's time to learn how to become your own best friend. What you don't control shouldn't control you. Think about every time you felt angry because of something you couldn't change. Someone insulted you? Did you feel frustrated because your plans didn't go as expected? The weather was bad and ruined your day? Did you have any control over these things? Could you have stopped that person from saying what they said? Can you change the weather to make it sunny as you wanted? Of course not. The problem isn't that these things happened, but that you allowed them to control you, to affect your mood, to steal your energy and focus more than they deserve. And this is the trap most people fall into. They direct their energy towards things outside their control, forgetting the one thing they fully possess, their reaction. Imagine a man walking in the market, and suddenly a person screams at him angrily, insulting him for no reason. The ordinary man would lose his temper, shout back, and maybe end up in a pointless fight. But the person who understands this deep idea would pause for a moment and think, will my anger change anything? Will my shouting make this person more polite? Will my reaction turn back time and prevent them from saying what they said? No. So why should I let him control my mental state? Why should I give him this power over me? The true Stoic does not lose their calm easily, not because they are weak, but because they are strong enough to choose their battles wisely. They know that life is full of situations that may anger them, frustrate them, or hurt them, but they realize that fleeting emotions shouldn't control their destiny. This doesn't mean they are emotionless, but they refuse to be a slave to their emotions. They see reality as it is, not as they wish it to be. They accept that the world will not always go according to their desires, but this doesn't mean they will lose their calm over things that don't deserve it. Marcus Aurelius faced wars, conspiracies, plagues, and yet he did not let any of these things break him. He wrote in his Meditations, "If it is beyond your control, why allow it to steal your calm?" And this is the most important lesson here. You cannot control the world, but you can always control yourself. You cannot force people to treat you fairly, but you can choose how you treat them. You cannot stop chaos from appearing in your life, but you can remain steady amidst it, like a rock that doesn't shake in the storm.